Legends. I've been spending a little bit more time with these pair this evening. Laurel and Hardy. Class. Guys, welcome back to Coins Age Media. I am Rodney Stewart and we're doing a review on Laurel and Hardy. This one is called meno'war from 1929. Again, in this short film they play a couple of sailors that are on leave, and they're trying to pick up a couple of girls at the start of the movie. And it starts off with a little bit of random mistaken identity as far as clothing goes. The opening shot, there's this old lady walking through the park with a laundry basket on her shoulder, and a pair of women's underwear falls out of it. And as she walks away, the two girls that Stan and Ollie try to get with in this short come walking in and stop where this underwear has fallen, and they're having a chat as Stan and Ollie pass by. And they stop and have a moment where they're kind of, the girls are eyeing them up and they're eyeing the girls up, and then the girls walk away. And Stanley, of course, realises that there's this pair of underwear lying on the ground, and he lifts it up, and they're kind of sniggering and laughing. And we cut over to the girls, and one of them realises that she's lost a pair of gloves, so they come back looking for this pair of gloves. And of course we have a moment where there's a back and forth between Stan and Ollie and these two girls about, you know, have you lost something? Yes, I have. I've lost something. Can you describe them? And she's like, I really liked them. They were white, the button on the side. And she's talking about the gloves, obviously. And Oliver, he's got the underwear hiding them behind his back. And she says they were so easy to pull on. I liked them. So there's a lot of sniggering and laughing and Stan and Ollie's part. And at this point a police officer comes up and he's found the gloves, and he comes and asks the girls, have you lost something? Yeah, yes, I've lost gloves. He gives them to them, and that's the end of that little sequence. Not the strongest start to the film, in all honesty. Not so many laughs there, but we do go from there to, they go to a little place to get sodas for themselves, and we get the routine of Stan and Ollie not having enough money to cover the bill in this one, so they only have 15 cents on them, and the bill will come out to 30 cents, so they're stuck 15 down basically. Yeah, so there's a moment where Oliver has a plan worked out where the two girls can get a drink, he can get a drink, but if Stanley has to refuse whenever they're putting the order on, and Stanley can't get his head around this, so whenever Oliver is going through the order, like pointing at the two girls, soda, himself, soda, then he asks Stanley, what would you like? Stanley's supposed to say he doesn't want anything, but he goes soda. So this happens quite a few times, and when they do eventually get it worked out, and Stanley does manage to get it right, and they get the free drinks, Oliver's like, you can we can split ours between the two of us. And this, the delivery on this joke was just done so well. Like, in this film, in all honesty, from start to finish, there's not so many belly laughs on it, but the splitting the drink joke in this short film, the way it was done, the delivery of it was done so well. I laughed so flipping hard at this, because Oliver says to Stanley, he passes him the glass of soda, he's like, go ahead, you have your half first. And he turns around and he's kind of looking at the girls and what they're doing, and Stanley turns around from him and starts drinking and empties the glass, sets it back down on the counter, and Oliver lifts it to take his half of the drink, and of course there's nothing in it. And Oliver says, you realise what you've done? And Stanley starts into the crying that Stanley is so famous for doing in these films. And the punchline to the joke was, my half was in the bottom of the glass. And then he goes into a real hard cry sort of a thing, and he puts his arm up and leans into Oliver's shoulder. And just the way they delivered that there was brilliant. And Oliver decides to get his own back. When he gets the bill for the drinks, realises it's going to cost 30 cents. They only have 15. He says to Stanley, I'm not a bit, I'm not angry at you. I'm going to let you cover the bill. He takes the girls and leaves Stanley with 15 cents. And Stanley Finlayson, tenting the bar, giving the evil eye as well as he does in any of the films. And Stanley is worrying for a second, what am I going to do here? And he sees a one-armed bandit in the corner, and he drops in some cash, pulls the lever, gets the jackpot. So bill's covered. From there they go to, which is going to be pretty much the finishing sequence of the film, as they rented a rowboat for the afternoon to take the girls out on the lake. And this sequence of Stan and Ollie being two sailors in a rowboat, and when Stanley starts rowing, Oliver's sitting with the two girls. He's rowing in circles, he's going nowhere. So Oliver gets in, takes the other oar off him, and Stanley is out the left of the boat. When Oliver sits down, he also goes out of the left of the boat, and the pair of them start going, and of course they're rowing in circles again. So Ollie, losing his temper, lifts the oar out of his side, puts it on the other side of the boat, and not watching what Stanley's doing. Stanley is behind him. He copies him, takes his oar out to one side, puts it on the other, and again they start going in circles. So this leads into a massive fight between the two of them on this rowboat along with the two girls, with Finlayson standing on the dock looking on as the guy that's rented the boat out to them, as well as the guy that was serving the drinks earlier on. And it escalates into other people and other boats getting involved in this fight. Another boat comes in, collides with Stan and Ollie's. They start fighting with the guy in it. He ends up in the boat with the two of them. And what I love about these old short films, like, they just there wasn't so much closed sets for short films. There's very run and gun back in those days. So there's no such thing as getting an area to film in and not have the public in the background of it. And I have seen it in quite a few other films and older films where there's people in the background that are clearly not extras. They're just random passers-by that have seen a film has been shot, and they're stopping to check out what's going on. And if you look really closely, you can see a lot of that in the background in this film. And this isn't a silent short, this is a sound one. And there is a couple of times in the film, if you listen closely enough, you can hear a lot of laughter coming from the background of people watching the filming of this short. So this last fight basically escalates to the point where pretty much everyone that's on the lake and rowboats end up all in the same rowboat as Stan and Ollie and the two girls that they were originally with. And it gets to the point where there's that many people on it, they sink the boat to the bottom of the lake. And we kind of close out there. This film is actually so much better than I was giving it credit for at the start. That opening sequence of the mistaken identity of the underwear was pretty random. There was a funny part during it, mind you, where a guy came past riding a bicycle, and he sees Ollie, holding this pair of ladies' underwear on the side of the street, and he's at the side of the lake, and he's riding past him, and he's looking over his shoulder, and he goes, "Oh, naughty, 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 naughty," and rides off the end of the pier into the water, or the pier off the side of the pathway into the lake. There is a fall close to the end of the short film where a policeman turns up with Finlayson, and they decide to get under a rowboat to try and go out and stop the fight in the water. And as the policeman gets in, he tips the boat and falls off it, and Finlayson at the same time is also stepping onto the boat, and as it tips, he falls. And there's part of me wondering, the fall was actually obviously meant to happen, but I think Finlayson took a an incredibly hard fall, and I would be very, very surprised if he wasn't really, really hurt in that one. No, not so much these short films in the old days back in, what year was it again, 1929, back in the early cinema, guys. You know what I mean? There's, you know, a lot of those earlier stunts, you know, there was, don't get me wrong, there was stunt doubles in there for people, but there's clearly smaller falls throughout the films that, you know, the actors weren't afraid to get their hands dirty back in those days and go on and do some of that stuff themselves. And they genuinely, Finlayson went down really, really hard in that fall, and I'm almost sure he damaged his face in some way during it. But all in all, great little film. Not one of the strongest ones from Laurel and Hardy. There's, you know, there's only a few belly laughs in it, but that sequence with the splitting the drink between the two of them was absolutely hilarious. The comedy timing was spot on. Stanley's reactions and the way he delivered the line was just perfect, crystal perfect. Definitely well worth checking this one out. Do not jump over it by any means.